Hello guys, welcome to another pico CTF challenge. So on this video we're going to be dealing with a challenge called Who Are You? So basically this challenge is more about manipulating the request that we send to the server. Reason being is that the server is way too smart. It's a little bit smart. Let me not say way too smart. Let me just say it is a little bit smart because it doesn't allow people from a specific country to access it, because every country it has its own range of IP addresses, right? So the server is mostly aware of that, but the developer of this thing is pretty messed up. Reason being is that they notify us on where we are going wrong when we try to send the request, meaning it keeps notifying us what's wrong with this thing. If you get what I'm saying. Let's say I'm trying to log in using my username and my password, right? And then when I click an email that exists within the application, then it tells me your password is incorrect. And then when I click an email that doesn't exist on the database, it tells me the email doesn't exist. Basically, it means I can brute force. Okay, this is another part, but basically means I can brute force I can create like a brute force attack on that thing. And then finally I can be able to crack the password, since I know for sure that the email does exist. So it's almost similar to that thing on which server does some very stupid thing on which it updates us on what's going on, where are we going wrong and all that thing, on which as hackers our aim is to penetrate through this thing. And then if the server gives us so much information about how to bypass this thing, we have to take advantage of it. Anyway, let me not talk too much. So as I said, the name of this challenge is called Who Are You? Basically it's more of like a server asking us who are you. So we have hints. Let's click on the hints. It says in a match, but it's an RFC on which let's see what it is. So let's click on this link. So it says hypertext transfer protocol HTTP, on which is more of like sending requests and receiving requests, communication over the internet, right? So this is more of like a documentation. I won't get much into this thing. And then we have another link here on which this is the real challenge where we're going to be doing things. So we were trying to access this page, and then this thing says only people who use official Pico browser are allowed on the site, on which is it necessary, bro? Come, why can't you just let us in? So reason being, we don't use Pico browser. I admit, we use what? We use Firefox. I've never heard of Pico browser. I think this is just a made-up name, but otherwise we don't care much about it. We are hackers. We should be able to penetrate this thing. So I'm gonna show you something really fascinating about this thing. Let's open the inspection. We want to see why does this thing say I'm not using a Pico browser. Let me show you. So we're gonna go to the network tab. Let's refresh this thing. So as you can see, we have managed to send this GET request. Our browser sent a GET request providing the headers here. So the header that the server saw was this one, user agent, on which it realized it is not what? It is not Pico browser. And then it was like, bro, no way I'm gonna let you in since you're not using what? A Pico browser. Okay. So we know that, okay, this thing updates us when we don't do what is required. That's the first step. So we get to think of like, what is a tool that we can use in order to manipulate our requests? So the name of the tool, it is called CURL, or CURL, yeah, or client URL, on which we can send requests straight from the terminal. I'm going to show you just now. So let me just do something. Okay, so as we have managed to see that this server managed to read the header from the request, and it managed to see that, okay, the request doesn't come from the Pico, right? So now we're gonna have to use the curl. So the curl, you can just open your terminal here, and then if you don't have curl, you can try to download it, or try to get it. So you can say curl, and then you can check the manual by just saying man, on which this is just a manual of care. And then okay, now let's start the attack. So we have the address, we know the type of the request that we need, on which in this case is a cat, right? And then I feel like that's what we need at this point. So the type of response that we expect is the HTML file response. Like we expect something of this kind from the cal response of this kind. So we expect to see this kind of text, and also this part where it says we don't use the official Pico browser. Right, let's close this thing. Now let's start some real work. Let's get busy now. So we're gonna copy this thing. That's the first step we're gonna do. So we know the target, the URL, the URL of our target, right? So we're gonna say car, and then now we're gonna specify the request, on which we remember that we send the get request. So we're gonna say request, and then specify the request that we are trying to use, on which in this case is get. And then from there we have what? We have the URL, on which the URL that we're trying to attack, on which in this case is this one. And then let's send it. Okay, so as we can see here, let me try to zoom a bit. As we can see, we have this thing. Only people who use official Pico browser are allowed on this side. You can see even the dude at the background is still saying the same thing. We don't have a problem with that, right? Because we have this tool, we can manipulate the request that we send. But this is a lot of information that has been retrieved here, that has been retrieved from this request that we have sent. We only care much about this thing. I'm not so much of an expert when it comes to grep, but grep can help us minimize the whole lot of stuff here. So let's clear the screen. We're gonna try to apply some grep. So we're gonna do this thing, and then pipe this thing and provide a grep, and then say, hey, can you get something of this thing, on which you can see minimize this thing, and then you can only get this line, right? So we are still on this stage. So only people who use the official Pico browser are allowed on this side. So come on guys, we are hackers. We have realized that the server gets to read the request header, and it only pays attention to what? Agent browser. So how can we manipulate it? How can we change that? Simple. Cal allows us to set the headers, and when we set the headers, it kind of replaces the original header that we were gonna send. Like as we can see, when we were sending this request, the header was default, meaning it probably used Firefox, or I don't know. Actually, you can see which header was being sent. So I think we also have something called, before this, let's provide, I think we have something called verbose. Let's see. Okay, let's try to go up. So as you can see, oh, it said we were using Cal. This is our agent. This is the agent that we were using. Okay, let's clear this thing. We're not gonna use this. Okay, let's provide correct. And then we're targeting history. Alright, so we know if we press this thing, it's gonna tell us about the browser thing. Now we know that if however we change our header of we change the header of agent browser to Pico browser, we have a high chance of breaking into this thing, of getting inside. So let's do that. So now to specify the header, we're just gonna say hey, and then say what is the name of the header that we're looking for? I think it's agent browser agent, or agent browser. I don't know. Let's go through this thing, check something. I think we did. Under request, we should have this thing. The request, it's user agent. It's called user agent. On which it is what? Pico browser, right? And then that's it. So writing this code should be enough to bypass that part on which it checks whether we are coming from, we are using which agent. Okay, then now seems like we get a different error, because as you can see now this thing is not the same as this thing. So this server says, okay, I don't trust users visiting from another site. Basically what's happening here is that when we send the request, the server can see where we are coming from. Like where did we send the request from? For example, let's say we are on Facebook currently, and then we type YouTube. YouTube server can see where we're coming from, can see that we're coming from Facebook, right? So the question is now, how do we do this thing? So when it comes to like this thing, we do one of the headers that we have, it's called a referrer. So when we send the request, a referrer header is being attached to the request, on which when the server checks the referrer, it checks where this referrer is coming from, where the request is coming from, basically. So we're gonna manipulate that also. Let's specify the area, and then we have referrer, in which the referrer has to come from what? From this domain, because this thing says I don't trust users visiting from another site, meaning this thing only trusts users who are visiting from what? From whatever we are taking, on which is this case, right? So I flipped this thing by mistake. So let's copy this link address and then let's just paste it here. So now we're saying we are coming from this thing, take us in, basically. So let's see what's happening. Okay, I've made a mistake. Okay, so I've put the referrer, but I did not put the closing tag. Okay, now we get another one. Sorry, this site only worked in 2018. It seems like this thing must be having some secret thing deep down there. Why is it not working now? Anyway, we don't care much about that. We know how to get there. So we have another header set. A header that we can use, on which it is called date. On which if you just provide date, and then we can just say I don't know, 02/02/2018. Believe this should be converted to date. Let's provide it. Okay, I don't trust users who can be tracked. Whoa, so this is a little bit interesting. So it means if we want to access information from the server, no other website should be able to track us where we are going in all there, right? It is pretty smart, basically. So now we need to set another header. Okay. So the name of this header is called, let me think. Okay, do not track DNT. On which we have 0, 1. If it has a value of 0, it means that we are allowing other websites to track us. But if it's a value of 1, that means, because wait a minute. So 0 is false, right? And then 1 is true, meaning do not track. If do not track is true, meaning it's 1, that means it will, okay, yeah, it's supposed to be 1, basically. Another information, Sweden people. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Every country has its own range of IP addresses, right? So we're gonna have to figure out like those ranges of IP addresses that we need. So what is range? Range Sweden IP address. So we should have something. So Sweden IP address ranges. So these are the ranges for Sweden IP addresses. Let me try to zoom in a bit. So we can take any of them. Let me just take this one. Go back here. And then so we were here. So now we have to set another IP address. Another header, on which it is called x slash forwarded, is it 2 or 4? 4, I think so. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it worked. So now it says you are in Sweden but you don't speak Swedish, meaning we have to set the language, right? So okay, so it might be a little bit difficult now to see what's happening here. How can I do this? Okay, let me just tweak myself up there. Yeah, or I can, okay, let me just clear the screen. Basically, let me just clear the screen and then send this request again. So now we have to set the language, right? On which if you come here and specify we need to specify the language, on which is SV. I think language is supposed to be SV. Okay, what is language? How do we set the language? Accepted language or something like that. Let's go back to this thing, to the browser. I think on this thing. Oh, accepted language. This is the thing. Now let's go back. Let's improvise this one. So let's press enter. Perfect. So now we managed to pass every request, or I mean every requirement of the sale. So as you can see, finally we managed to break this system, meaning this is a jackpot. As hackers, that means we have won. So this is our flag, and then we're just gonna post it straight here. Okay, so we're just gonna say pico, this is our flag, and then submit. Hooray! You have solved this challenge correctly. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you've learned a lot from this thing. So basically we were trying to manipulate the request using the cal tool, and then seems like we've managed to do that pretty well, I guess. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you in the next upcoming videos. Cheers.